Welcome to the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium's English Language Arts Content Specifications, Item Specifications, and Depth of Knowledge Training Module. This module introduces the Consortium's English Language Arts Content Specifications and Item Specifications documents. In addition, this module describes the depth of knowledge, cognitive complexity, taxonomy that will guide the development of items and tasks that are of appropriate difficulty and cognitive complexity. This training module focuses on three main topics. This module provides an overview of the documents used to inform the development of items and tasks. This module provides a description of how these documents are used by item writers to write high-quality items and tasks. Finally, this module provides an introduction to the depth of knowledge taxonomy for cognitive complexity. Let's begin with an overview of the structure of each resource document. As will be explored in greater detail in this module, the Common Core State Standards provided the foundation for the Smarter Balanced content specifications. The content specifications were then used to inform the development of the Smarter Balanced item specifications. Item and task writers are expected to use all three documents to guide the development of Smarter Balanced items and tasks. The Common Core State Standards document has three main sections. The first section focuses on English Language Arts standards and standards across content areas for kindergarten through 5th grade. The second section focuses on English Language Arts standards for grades 6 through 12. The final section focuses on middle and high school standards for literacy in history, social studies, science, and technical subjects. Each of the three sections of the Common Core State Standards are further divided into strands, college and career readiness anchor standards, and grade-specific standards. The Common Core State Standards were developed by using the standards from various states to construct a focused and coherent set of standards that define what students should understand and be able to do. The standard, as well as the content specifications and item specifications, are rigorous, research-based, and consistent with college and career expectations. The Common Core State Standards were used to create the Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium's English Language Arts Content Specifications and Item Specifications. Clusters of the standards were used to inform the assessment targets that are defined in the content specifications. The content specifications is divided into 5 main sections. The first section describes the process used to develop the major claims and assessment targets based on the Common Core State Standards. The second section maps the assessment targets to the standards. This section shows how each assessment target addresses a cluster of standards. The third section provides further detail about the assessment targets for each claim and the evidence required for each assessment target. The fourth and fifth sections provide additional details that may be useful for understanding the claims and assessment targets. Of particular interest to item and task writers is Appendix A, which provides detailed information about cognitive complexity and depth of knowledge. Before examining item and task specifications in greater detail, let's take a moment to explore cognitive rigor and depth of knowledge in more detail. Smarter Balanced assessments will elicit evidence from students that is used to support claims about the extent to which students have the ability to integrate knowledge and skills across multiple assessment targets and are ready to meet the challenges of college and careers. Items and tasks must be constructed at various levels of cognitive rigor. Smarter Balanced has defined 4 levels of depth of knowledge. The first level focuses on recall and reproduction of facts and other types of information. The second level focuses on basic skills and concepts that require cognitive processes that extend beyond the recall of information. The third level focuses on strategic thinking and reasoning. The fourth and final level requires extended thinking that includes complex reasoning, planning, development, and cognition that occurs over an extended period of time. The cognitive rigor matrix combines 2 common taxonomies that categorize levels of cognition and shows how the Smarter Balanced depth of knowledge categories relate to these taxonomies. As shown here, the concept of remembering information only relates to the first depth of knowledge level. In contrast, evaluation does not relate to either of the first 2 levels of depth of knowledge. This table, which can be found in the Smarter Balanced Content Specifications for ELA, is a useful aid for guiding the development of items at different depth of knowledge levels. Now let's examine the item specifications. The English Language Arts item specifications were developed by Smarter Balanced to guide the development of items and tasks that support claims about the achievement of Common Core standards. For each assessment target, the item specifications define the evidence to be collected to support claims about the target. Each evidence statement has one or more associated task models. The task models describe specific characteristics of items that can elicit the evidence required to support a claim about an assessment target. To make the task models more concrete, sample items are also provided. With this overview of the Common Core State Standards, content specifications, and the item specification, let's examine an item specification table in greater detail. The item specifications contain a large number of item specification tables. Each table focuses on a specific claim and assessment target or targets, and presents information that is used to guide the writing of items and tasks that collect evidence about that claim and assessment target. Let's take a moment to examine several key parts of an item specification table. The top portion of a table indicates the content area, grade, claim, and assessment target addressed by the table. In this example, the content area is English Language Arts, the grade is 11, and the table addresses Claim 1, Assessment Target 14. The first row restates the claim. The second row states the assessment target, and the third row indicates which standards are associated with the assessment target. All of this information is based on information provided in the content specifications. The fourth row provides detailed information about the type of evidence required to support the claim about the assessment target. This information is useful for informing the contents of the prompt developed to elicit evidence from students. The next row indicates the depth of knowledge level to which items or tasks should be written to provide this evidence. The sixth row indicates the item types that can be used to elicit evidence from students. In this example, constructed response items are deemed appropriate. Next, task models describe the characteristics of items and tasks that may be used to collect evidence. There will be more about task models in a few moments. The eighth row provides information about any non-targeted knowledge or skills that may be required to respond to items based on the task models. In some cases, the skills or knowledge required to collect evidence about an assessment target require the application of related skills that are not the current focus of attention, and such skills are identified in this section. The next section provides information about the types of stimulus materials that should accompany the item. In this example, informational texts are expected to be presented with the item prompt. The 10th row details vocabulary that is associated with the assessment target and which can be used as part of the item's content. This section provides guidance for making decisions about whether or not a term might introduce bias. Any term listed in this section is deemed appropriate for use within the context of the items or tasks developed for the claim and assessment target. The 11th row indicates which tools, if any, can be used while working on the item or to produce responses for the items. This information is intended to support decisions about potential accommodations and about resources that should be available to students as they work on this item. Next, information about any specific attributes of the item is provided. In this example, information about the grade level of stimulus text is provided. Any accessibility concerns that are specific to any of the task models is then documented. This information is used to help inform decisions about accommodations for the item or tasks built from the task model. If a sample item exists, the next section will provide a link to it. Sample items provide models for what an item or task might look like. Finally, information about scoring is provided. In this example, a 3-point constructed response scoring rubric must be provided for each item or task built for this assessment target. With this overview of item specifications, let's take a closer look at the claims and assessment targets for English Language Arts. The English Language Arts claims are derived from the Common Core State Standards and serve as the basis for the consortium's development of items and tasks. Each of the 4 claims has a number of targets, and the targets detail the evidence required to support each claim. Now let's examine each claim. For Claim 1, there are 14 assessment targets. Assessment targets 1 through 7 focus on reading literary texts. Assessment targets 8 through 14 focus on reading informational texts. Assessment targets are linked to the content clusters within the Common Core State Standards. Now let's look at a specific target for Claim 1. This Grade 5 target focuses on reading literary text. Notice that several standards are associated with this target. There is not a one-to-one correspondence between a given assessment target and a standard. Instead, assessment targets focus on skills and knowledge that cross a cluster of standards. Also note that the depth of knowledge level that must be applied to achieve this assessment target is also specified. For Claim 2, there are 9 assessment targets. Targets 1, 3, and 6 focus on writing and revising brief texts. Targets 2, 4, and 7 address composing full texts. Target 5 focuses on the use of text features in writing. Target 8 focuses on the use of language and vocabulary. Target 9 focuses on editing and clarifying text. Now let's look at a specific target for Claim 2. This example shows Assessment Target 1 for Claim 2. Target 1 focuses on writing and revising texts. The several standards that are associated with this assessment target are listed. This target also addresses Level 2 depth of knowledge. For Claim 3, there are 3 assessment targets. Target 1 focuses on use of language and vocabulary. Target 2 focuses on adapting speech to a variety of contexts and tasks. Target 3 addresses students' ability to plan, speak, and present information in an oral manner. Target 4 focuses on listening and interpreting spoken information. Now let's look at a specific target for Claim 3. As seen earlier for Claims 1 and 2, assessment targets for Claim 3 address several standards, each of which are listed below the full description of the assessment target. For Claim 4, there are 4 assessment targets. Target 1 focuses on planning and conducting research. Target 2 addresses students' ability to interpret and integrate information. Target 3 focuses on analyzing information and the sources of that information. Target 4 focuses on the use of evidence to support an argument or position. Now let's look at a specific target for Claim 4. This is a Grade 4 assessment target for Claim 4. This target addresses 2 standards and requires a Level 2 depth of knowledge. With these examples of claims and assessment targets, let's now take a closer look at the evidence statements that are specified for assessment targets. Evidence statements define the type of information or products that are collected from students to provide information about specific knowledge, skills, and abilities that are the target of assessment. Task models guide the development of items that assess a particular target. Sample items provide examples of how to write items for a specific assessment target. Not every assessment target has a sample item. Sample items provide an overview of some of the item types that will be used in the Smarter Balanced assessments. This is an example of an evidence statement for the Claim 1 assessment target presented earlier. This statement identifies the evidence for the Claim 1 Target 4 assessment target and indicates that when reading literary texts, students can determine the theme of a story, compare and contrast elements of a story, and justify interpretations of authors' choices regarding theme, tone, or perspective. All item specifications address a primary target. For some item specifications, a secondary target is also addressed. As an example, for Claim 1, the primary target is 4 and the secondary target is 1. This secondary target will always appear with this primary target, and an item or task developed using this specification should address both the primary claim and the secondary claim. Now let's take a look at a task model. A task model describes the characteristics that should appear in an item that provides evidence for a given claim and assessment target. As this example shows, a task model presents several pieces of information that should be used to inform the development of an item or task. Let's take a moment to examine the several pieces of information contained in a task model. The first piece of information in a task model indicates the model's number. For each assessment target measured for Claim 1, one or more task models will be specified. In this example, task model number 1 is displayed. Next, the number of score points that can be awarded for items or tasks built from the model is specified. In this example, the items built from this model are worth 2 points. The third piece of information indicates the item type that is specified by the model. The abbreviation SR is used for selected response, CR for constructed response, ER for extended response, TE for technology enhanced, and PT for performance task. For this example, the task model specifies a constructed response. Next, the depth of knowledge level to which items or tasks based on the model are to be written is specified. In this example, the depth of knowledge of items based on this task model is 3. Finally, the characteristics of items or tasks built from a model are described. In this example, the characteristics of items built from Model 1 indicate that students should be prompted to make an inference or draw a conclusion about how an author develops a theme and to use relevant evidence from the text as support. Let's take a look at the task models developed for Claim 1, Target 4 at Grade 11. There are 4 task models specified for this target. Each task model uses a constructed response to elicit evidence from students. For the first task model, items will prompt students to make an inference or draw a conclusion about how the author of a given text develops a theme. Items based on this model will also elicit responses that provide relevant evidence from the text to support their inference or conclusion. In contrast, Task Model 3 specifies that items should prompt students to analyze the author's choices regarding character development and that responses are expected to use evidence from the text as support. It is important to note that each assessment target specifies 1 or more task models that can be used to collect evidence about the assessment target. The task models for each assessment target can be found in the item and task specifications. As this module has explored, the Common Core State Standards provide a foundation for defining the claims and assessment targets that are the focus of the Smarter Balanced assessment system. The content specifications were developed by Smarter Balanced to provide a formal definition of the claims and assessment targets and provide a foundation for item specifications. In addition, the content specifications indicate the depth of knowledge that students are expected to demonstrate for a given assessment target. The item and task specifications were also developed by Smarter Balanced to define the evidence to be elicited from students to support claims about assessment targets and present task models that inform the development of items that are used to collect that evidence. Collectively, this information is used to guide the development of items and tasks that form the Smarter Balanced assessment system. To support the development of high-quality items and tasks, item writers need to be familiar with the content and item specifications and are expected to reference them regularly when developing items and tasks.